Sean O'Malley put on a clinic against Marlon Chito Vera last night at UFC 299. This is my immediate reaction to the whole card for UFC 299. Stay tuned to hear my thoughts. I'm Wyatt, and this is Fight Society. All right, guys, so I am here the day after UFC 299 to give you my immediate reaction to the card. Now, we'll start with the main event, Sean O'Malley versus Chito Vera. Many people were anticipating a Sean O'Malley victory here, given the way that their first fight ended, being kind of a fluke in my opinion. But after seeing last night, we know who the better fighter is. And Sean O'Malley, 50-45 on 2 cards and 50-44 on 1 card. Now, he doubled him up on strikes, and he was just a step ahead the entire night, leading the dance, while Chito seemed to be taking damage and looking for an opportunity to land one big shot. Now, unfortunately for Chito, the one big shot that he landed was a body shot with about 1 second left in the fight. So even though Sean O'Malley went and sat on the cage right at the end of the fight, it didn't really have any bearing towards the result. Sean O'Malley, although that this shouldn't have been his first title defense, it should have been Merab, he proved some of the doubters wrong, and he avenged his only career loss to this point. He looked fantastic in doing it, working the body, leg kicks, beating the crap out of Chito while looking fantastic. And a note that I had was that Chito seems to be too reliant on his guard, or on his high guard that he has, his shell. And what this makes me think, and especially I was talking with my brother about this, that Sean O'Malley, from when you look at his training videos in Embedded and Countdown, he's doing almost everything with the small gloves on, MMA gloves, 7-ounce or 4-ounce. Where Chito, if you watch Countdown and Embedded, he's doing many things with the big gloves on, boxing gloves. And this makes me think that Chito has gotten overconfident in his shell, given how much he trains with the big gloves on. If you train with the 16-ounce sparring gloves compared to the 7-ounce MMA sparring gloves, you get to cover up with those big gloves. And there's so much congestion when you use the big gloves in sparring that many shots that would land with MMA gloves don't land. Sean O'Malley was going right through the guard and really beating Chito up. And I don't know how Chito ate the hardest knee I've seen someone eat in a while without getting KO'd. So Sean O'Malley proves that he can go 5 rounds. He avenges his one career loss to Chito, and Chito is still a zombie, unfinishable. Now, I'm going to make a separate video that is matchmaking the 135-pound division after this event. Sean O'Malley called out Ilia Topuria at 145. I don't think that that's next. But come back around for my matchmaking video for the bantamweight division to see my thoughts on what's next for Sean O'Malley. Moving down the card, the co-main event, which won fight of the night, Dustin Poirier versus Benoit Saint-Denis. Absolute banger. Now, I did say during fight week that Benoit Saint-Denis looked to be fighting a staph infection with that mark, that kind of crater that he had on his forehead. This proved to affect him. He even said it in an Instagram post today. He said that his mind was present, but his body was absent, and that his cardio wasn't there after a week of antibiotics to fight off that infection. Now, a few people said that I was making something out of nothing in the comments in regards to that fight being affected by the staph infection. But Benoit Saint-Denis said himself that that infection affected him in the fight. So I'll take my victory lap on that. Dustin Poirier proves that he's still got that dog in him after having his back taken and almost submitted in the first and second round, and then coming back and getting a insane knockout victory in round 3 with the same right hook at the exact same timestamp in the fight that he knocked out Conor McGregor with in their second fight at UFC 258, I think it was. 257. Now, Dustin, not really sure what was up with the guillotines last night. I did say during the fight that if he was going to shoot guillotines, it was better that he did it in the first round and the second round before they're crazy sweaty and every sub just slips off. But his corner said to him, even after the first round, no more guillotines. And then he pulled one like 30 seconds into the second round. But it is what it is. He trusted in his guillotine. He ended up not needing it for the win. But I'm not sure what's next for Dustin Poirier. Come back later this week, probably about Tuesday. I'll put out a video in regards to what's next for Dustin Poirier, because given this win, Islam being out, and then the lightweight matchups happening at UFC 300, lightweight is at a little bit of a standstill from a matchmaking standpoint until Charles Oliveira fights Arman Sarukian at UFC 300, and Max Holloway and Justin Gaethje get their fight out of the way at UFC 300. But Dustin pulled out a big win, huge for his career. I thought that if he took the loss last night that he would retire, and he proves that he's still an elite lightweight after finally taking on a contender and getting an emphatic knockout win. All right, and then moving down the card to the feature bout, we had Kevin Holland against Michael Venom Page. Now, this was the only prediction that I got wrong on this main card. Yeah, shout out to me for going 4-1. But Kevin Holland checked out in the second round after not finishing him with the elbows. Kevin Holland looked to be really frustrated and lost a little bit with the speed and the different angles that Michael Venom Page was coming at him with. And like I said in my prediction video, if Kevin Holland grapples, he'll win the fight. Now, if he would have grappled from the start, I think he would have won. But he stuck too much on the feet. He kind of got embarrassed, in my opinion, on the feet by Michael Venom Page. And Michael Venom Page looked fast, and he looked durable, and his grappling was better than I thought after surviving that onslaught of elbows in the second round. So he is a little bit on the older side. He's in his late 30s, but he does have big matchups ahead of him. They brought him here to go towards a title shot. I feel that they want to do Michael Venom Page versus Leon Edwards in England at some point, which is still probably at least 2 wins away for him. But he did prove that he belongs. He beat a former middleweight in Kevin Holland, and he looked good. It was really impressive. And it went how I thought it would. If Kevin Holland grapples, he'll win. If it stays on the feet, MVP will win. And that's what happened. So I think that what's next is going to be Michael Venom Page, probably against Wonderboy. But if they don't do that, I think that he will fight Ian Gary. But that is all contingent on if they book Ian Gary versus Colby Covington. Let me know what you guys think. Who do you think is next for Michael Venom Page in the welterweight division? He's going to get favorable matchups. He's not going to fight a heavy wrestler. He's not going to fight Shavkat. He's going to probably fight Ian Gary and then Wonderboy. And if he wins both of those, title shot. Moving down the card, Gilbert Burns versus Jack Della Maddalena. I picked JDM by decision in this one, and it was about a minute and a half from making it to that decision. In my opinion, Gilbert Burns was winning that fight up until the finish. I know that it was extremely competitive, but I think that Gilbert was a minute and 17 seconds from getting the win. And, you know, shout out to JDM. Boxing looked really clean. He hurt Gilbert with multiple left hands. Really clean boxing work. Survived getting his back taken. Really impressive defensive grappling for JDM. And, you know, he put Gilbert Burns down and out with the knee that Chito ate in the main event. So, you know, obviously Gilbert Burns does not have the chin that Chito has, but it was the same knee. One guy got KO'd, one guy survived and got beat up for 5 rounds. JDM's a top 5 welterweight now. Maybe he fights Michael Venom Page. He did call out Shavkat. I do think that after a lot of uncertainty, I do feel that Bilal Muhammad is going to get the title shot against Leon, but JDM versus Shavkat for a title eliminator, that sounds like a good idea. I would probably lean towards Shavkat in that fight, but I want to know your guys' thoughts. What's next for JDM? In regards to Gilbert Burns, hopefully he doesn't retire. He is on the backside of his career, did just get finished, and after being out for almost a year, I think that he's probably going to have to fight another contender. And if not, I'm not really sure who he fights. Let me see the welterweight rankings. Maybe, you know what? They'll probably do Gilbert Burns versus Sean Brady, or Gilbert Burns versus Jeff Neal or Neil Magny. I think they're going to either do Neil Magny or Jeff Neal, a little bit older guys. They need to start getting these guys out of the rankings. Or they're going to do him versus Sean Brady, a little bit of a grappling matchup there. Sean Brady with incredible grappling. Gilbert looked really good on the grappling last night. Let me know what you guys think. Who's next for JDM? Who's next for Gilbert Burns? But great fight. Moving down the card, we have Petr Yan versus Song Yadong. This went to a decision. I believe that's how I picked it to go as well. And Petr Yan throws away the first round, got outmatched in the first round. Song Yadong was very aggressive in the first round and gassed. I think that his best shot was round 1 KO. But Petr Yan survived, looked very close to his old self, ate some big shots, returned some big shots, very good grappling, finished on top. Actually, I think he locked up a Darce choke in the last 5 seconds of the fight. Petr Yan, hopefully working back towards the top. I think that another win or two could get him into a title fight with Sean O'Malley, which would be cool because their first fight in Abu Dhabi was very, very close. Some people say it was a robbery that he lost that fight. So I would like to see Sean O'Malley and Petr Yan run it back eventually to get a little bit more clarity on their fight, on their first fight, kind of in the same way that Sean O'Malley proved that Chito's win against them back in 2020 was a fluke by the way that he outclassed him. You know, every fight's different. Time goes by. Things could be different. Petr Yan could get cooked by Sean O'Malley and vice versa. But Petr Yan finally bounces back after 3 consecutive losses. I'll make a matchmaking video in regards to the bantamweight division that'll probably be out tomorrow. But I want to hear your guys' thoughts. What do you think's next for Petr Yan? What do you think's next for Song Yadong? I think that cardio ended up being an issue for Song Yadong in that fight. And you saw him gas out and ended up losing in the later rounds to Corey Sandhagen when they fought as well. Petr Yan typically throws away the first round, which happened to be Song Yadong's best round. And then Petr Yan ramped it up from there and ended up getting a super impressive decision win. He was leading the dance, beating Song Yadong to the punch in the second and third round where he wasn't in the first. So Petr Yan by decision, probably a top 5 matchup, but you guys can come back around this week for my bantamweight matchmaking video and hear my thoughts on that. Let me know what you thought of Petr Yan and Song Yadong down in the comments below. All right, and then the feature prelim, Curtis Blaydes versus Jailton Almeida. Curtis Blaydes won by second round KO with these hammer fists up against the fence that put Jailton Almeida out. Couple things that I want to point out. Jailton Almeida, as good of a grappler as he has probably the least fan-friendly style that I've seen in a while. He is extremely strong, probably a roid abuser, to be honest, but he was muscling up Curtis Blaydes, who was 20-something pounds heavier than him, picking him up, putting him down over and over again in the first round. And it looked like Curtis Blaydes was kind of checked out, was looking to quit a little bit in the first round, but he saw an opportunity when Jailton Almeida exposed his head up against the fence on that takedown to start the second round, and he was able to KO him with a flurry of hammer fists. Great stoppage on that. Jailton Almeida collapsed completely out. He went limp. But Jailton Almeida, he's going to have to learn to strike. The UFC is not going to put him in big fights with the style that he's had recently. The fight with Derek Lewis was a complete snoozer. He was laying on top of him for 5 rounds. No urgency to finish the fight. Same with the first round. I think he threw no strike. He might have thrown no strikes for the entire fight. He might have thrown 0 strikes. Let me look. Jailton Almeida threw 9 strikes and landed 9 takedowns. Or he landed 9 strikes, attempted 11, all of those being on the ground. And he attempted 13 takedowns and landed 9 of them. So he attempted more takedowns in the fight than he did strikes. Now, they're just not going to put him in big fights with this style. He treats MMA like a jiu-jitsu grappling match where he's getting points for Matt returning Curtis Blaydes over and over again. Now, he did win that first round because that's all that happened in the first round was grappling. But the UFC, Dana White, they want exciting fights, finishes, and that was not what Jailton Almeida provided last night. I think he needs to reevaluate his style going forward. If he wants to be in big fights, he needs to have some finishing capability, and he needs to understand that fights are scored based on damage and not control. So good on Curtis Blaydes. I thought they were maybe trying to get Curtis Blaydes out the door. You know, he fought Tom Aspinall, Sergey Pavlovich, and then Jailton Almeida. It seemed like they were using him as a stepping stone for these prospects to get into the top 5, and he proved that he still belongs. So shout out to Curtis Blaydes. He said he wants to run it back with Tom Aspinall. That could be a possibility. I think they're going to do Tom Aspinall and Ciryl Gane sometime this summer, while Stipe and John Jones wait to handle their business. Jailton Almeida, going to have to fight down in the rankings next. Not a great performance, not very exciting, very impressive strength and grappling, but really needs to work on his strategy a little bit because the UFC does not like this type of style. I'm not going to go over the whole card, but a couple more that I wanted to go over was Michel Pereira versus Michael Oleksiejczuk. The dancing going down to the cage was super entertaining. He was a huge welterweight that missed weight against Wonderboy, and that fight fell apart. He looks much better at 185. Absolutely steamrolled Oleksiejczuk in a minute. I think that Michel Pereira has 100% a ranked opponent coming next for him at middleweight. So great performance from him from the way in, the walk to the cage, in the cage, on the way out. Fantastic. He's for sure going to get a ranked opponent next. The last one that I wanted to talk about was the highly anticipated debut of Robelis Despaigne, the Cuban heavyweight that was a Olympic Taekwondo medalist, against John Parisian, who I believe has lost to Peter Parker, Parker Porter, not Peter Parker, and Harry Hunsucker. This was a setup for him. He lasted 18 seconds. In the moment, I thought it was a premature stoppage, but he did completely cover up. Ref saved him from taking more damage. And Robelis Despaigne, we'll see how he looks against heavy grappling heavyweights, but he is gigantic, perfect size for a heavyweight, explosive, landed a knockout blow while stumbling backwards, which is pretty insane. So let me know what you guys think. Is Robelis Despaigne legit? Does he fizzle out? I imagine given the lack of talent in the heavyweight division and how thin that division is, he's going to get fast-tracked. I think he smokes a lot of the heavyweight division. I think he smokes like the Tafa brothers, Marcos Rogerio de Lima, those lower-ranked guys. Shamil Gaziev gets absolutely smoked by this guy. So he'll probably get a challenge in the top 10 somewhere once he reaches that, but he's probably got a couple more unranked fights before he gets there, but he will get fast-tracked. I have no doubt about that. Let me know your guys' thoughts. There was a couple more fights on the card. Macy Barber got the win. Gamrot got the decision win after being dropped twice in the first round by a 39-year-old RDA. Shout out to him. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. What was the most exciting fight on the card? What are your biggest takeaways from UFC 299? And what was your fight of the night? Let me know down in the comments. If you like this video and you want more content just like this, click that subscribe button down below. If you want more content from me, go check out my weekly comedy podcast, the Hissyfit podcast, and go check out my personal channel, Wyatt's World. Go watch this suggested video, and I'll see you next time.